going into the 2024 season, fresh off that free agency deal that Saquon Barkley signed with the Philadelphia Eagles, I think that Saquon can pop off, dominate for the Birds here this upcoming season, and be this year's version of Christian McCaffrey, who last year won NFL Offensive Player of the Year, was top 5 in MVP voting, and surpassed more than 2,000 all-purpose yards. It's easy to see why Saquon Barkley decided to leave the New York Giants and sign with the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a very frustrating tenure with the Giants for Saquon. He gets drafted high out of Penn State by Dave Gettleman. He's looked at as the savior of the Giants organization. He gets off to an incredible start. He was and still is one of the most gifted running backs that we've seen in this generation of football. But after that incredible start, tears his ACL, suffers from some injuries, not as durable as what people had envisioned him being coming out of Penn State, going into the National Football League. The Giants as a team have had a huge lack of talent around Saquon, and they've lost a lot of football games. For Saquon, too, he's joining a team that has dominated the Giants over the last 10 years. Philadelphia is 16-4 over New York in the last decade. And now, for Saquon, the Whitehall High School and Penn State legend who grew up in the Lehigh Valley, returns home to Pennsylvania to play for the Birds, a team that he grew up watching, that a lot of his friends and family members, that's their favorite squad. Saquon also looks really good in the midnight green. He tweeted out a couple of eagle emojis with this photo and a couple of these photos right here. And I just think he's poised to have a breakout season because the numbers certainly back that up, and the talent gap between New York and Philadelphia is a large one. And going back to Saquon just being so gifted, you do not see a lot of running backs who look like this. You don't see a lot of people or professional athletes who were this built. So when he's right, he is a stellar superstar player. He is box office. And if he can stay healthy this year with the surrounding supporting cast that he now has to his advantage with Philadelphia, that's why I think that he can have a tremendous season. For the topic of this show, if he can stay healthy, I think he can win or at least compete for NFL Offensive Player of the Year and be the Eagles version of what Christian McCaffrey has been to the San Francisco 49ers. The Giants' offensive line, especially over the last couple of years, has been downright horrible. New York in run block win percentage via ESPN the last 2 years. In 2023, New York, 31st among 32 teams en route to that 6-11 record. In 2022, they ranked 26th. As for Philadelphia, we know this is an organization that prioritizes running the football. They have the best offensive line coach in the National Football League in Jeff Stoutland. And because of that, they've been a highly successful running offense. The Eagles ranked in 2023 first in run block win percentage per ESPN, and in 2022, when they made it to the Super Bowl, second. Giants offensive line, horrible part two. We're not done. The last 3 years, New York, according to Pro Football Focus, in a run block win percentage, 30th, 14th, middle of the pack, and then 21st. Philadelphia, on the other hand, third, and fifth. So the last time that Saquon Barkley was on a high-octane offense, and the last time he had an elite skill guy, was Odell Beckham Jr., and that was only for 1 year. And then OBJ started to get hurt, and then as we know, he was traded away by the New York Giants. And now Saquon Barkley is looking around, and he even talked about this when he took the practice field for the first time. He's like, I got into the huddle, and I saw Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. Saquon has never had this offensive line. He's never been in this situation with the talented offense, and he's never had this amount of talent around him. And I also think that having Jalen Hurts in the backfield and the running threat that Hurts possesses will make the job easier for Saquon Barkley. I am also excited to see how Kellen Moore utilizes Saquon. Saquon was criminally underused early in his career in the red zone. As a rookie, he barely got the football when Pat Shermer was calling the plays around the goal line in the red area. It's ridiculous. It should never happen, right? And then also throughout his entire Giants tenure, I don't think that he was utilized enough as the weapon that he is. And I've always kind of looked at Christian McCaffrey as a weapon, not just as a running back. I look at Saquon in the same mold because Saquon can run the football out of the shotgun, under center, outside, and between the tackles. He can catch the ball out of the backfield on wheel routes, on screen passes, a la going back to the Brian Westbrook days. He can catch a shovel pass. He can run a wheel route. Eagles were already calling those plays for him in the spring. He can line up out of the slot, and he can beat with this really good footwork, not as good as Christian McCaffrey, but really good footwork, slower nickel corners, and linebackers. You got to be able to put your playmakers in a position to succeed and maximize their abilities. And I think that's what Philadelphia can do with Saquon Barkley here. And while the defense has to focus in and hone in on an A.J. Brown, a Devontae Smith, a Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley is going to have ample opportunities here. And even if defenses try to take Saquon away, what does that do for everybody else? They will now have open looks to try to exploit and take advantage of the defensive tendencies. A Saquon Barkley fantasy update for everybody, though. While I think that he can put up really big numbers, what's going to be interesting with Jason Kelce retiring is how Philadelphia utilizes the brotherly shove tush-push play, and if they run it as much with Cam Jurgens at center, with Jason Kelce now retiring. Because Eagles running backs last year in 2023 had no carries from the 1-yard line. And the brotherly shove had a 92.5% success rate. So there could be a lack of touchdowns for Saquon. And by the way, other teams in the NFL, they were about 10% less on that success rate as compared to Philadelphia. That's why you don't penalize teams for doing things well. One more note here, and this is about the injury concerns and Saquon Barkley being injury prone. It's talked about a little bit more than what the reality actually is. When you look at Saquon's career, he played 16 games year 1, 13 games year 2, 2 games in year 3, then 13, 16, 14. So Saquon has played 13 plus games in 5 of 6 seasons. So he has not been as injured as what people think. And again, on this team, I just think he's going to have more opportunities, and I imagine he is salivating at the thought of running behind this Eagles offensive line. If you're pumped that Saquon Barkley is on the Birds, I want you to type SB down in the comment section. Don't forget to give me a follow on social media. I put out a lot of short-form content there at Chase_Senior, approaching 13,000 followers here, 31,000 followers on IG. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. With training camp coming, then preseason, regular season, we're really going to start to ramp up our coverage. Still giving you shows every single day because you got to be built different here on these YouTube streets. But you can expect even more content from us right here on Eagles Now.